Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Revenue Throughput Podcast. Our very special guest today is Darrin Mitchell. He's president and founder of Mitchell Industries. And as importantly, he is founder of something that you're going to be listening and hearing a lot about in the coming weeks and months, which is Manufacturing Masters, or as he likes to put it, Netflix for manufacturers. Now, Darrin's going to share a bit about his journey, how he leveraged partnerships and innovation to grow a significant manufacturing presence out of all places, Prince Edward Island in Canada. And despite geographic limitations, other challenges, how he was able to leverage those things to great success. And we'll hear about it right now as Darrin joins our show. Well, welcome, Darrin, to the Revenue Throughput Podcast.
Hello, Jose. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, absolutely. So Darrin, for those who aren't familiar with you, but maybe familiar with our format, they know that we like to interview owners of businesses and experts who serve owners, especially in the B2B area. And in you, we kind of get a twofer. So because you've been an owner of a successful enterprise in manufacturing, and you're also doing things to serve that audience. So just tell us a little bit about your history as an owner of a manufacturer. Let's start there, and then we'll transition to the other part.
Thanks. I've been a global manufacturer for the last 23 years. And if you see my backdrop, it's heavy manufacturing. We made highway trailers. So if any of your listeners who have ever been stuck in traffic because someone's been paving the road, so go to the Boston, go to the Big Dig, you can blame us. So
it's your fault.
Yeah, we build the equipment that hauls the asphalt, the aggregate. So we did that for the last 23 years, and we came up with something unique because our home base and where we started from is an island in the Atlantic Ocean above Maine, and even people from nearby communities would make fun of us at how rural we were. And in the beginning, I would go and visit my biggest competitors in Ohio, in upstate New York, in South Dakota, and I would say, listen, you are big and mighty. I am small and insignificant. Can we just have a conversation? And I discovered through that process that they had hundreds of millions in capital. They had, hundreds of thousands of square feet of factories. They were vertically and horizontally integrated, and literally the customer picking up the product, I would already lose margin trying to compete against them. And they would tell me, we're happy making 5 to 7% margin because we're a volume business. And starting day one, I knew absolutely with great clarity, if we tried to do one thing of what they were doing, we were already dead in the water. So the first thing that we did 23 years ago is we went, okay, not because we're really smart, but because of a pure necessity, we have to redesign this business model from the bottom up. So the first thing we did is we added innovation to the product. And what the innovation did is allowed us to ask for an extra 15 to 20 points. But I would meet with my bigger competitors and they would say, that thing you do by adding innovation, we hate it. And I went, why is that? Well, we can't compete against you because our lines aren't set up to do that. And I would go, perfect. And I promise not to do what you're doing. So I always kept those conversations going to know how to set ourselves one step aside from what they were doing, because I couldn't compete. So the next thing we did is we had to start owning our supply chain. And what I mean by that is New York to Toronto, Toronto to Montreal, Montreal to Halifax, Halifax to me on an island. Guess what sort of upcharge that is for raw materials? It was insane. And then I would go meet with that supplier and I would say, listen, I can't pay for all this distribution. It doesn't work. And the ones that got it, we would set up direct accounts, and then I would have to teach them. You need to show me about alternative products. You need to show me about how we can ship it better. You need to show, and then I would have to teach them how to do business with us. The ones who didn't get it, I would either myself or one of my engineers fly to South Korea or China or even places like England, and we would say, where's the main component actually being created? And then sent to New York, and then sent to Toronto. And half the time, we would actually find that original supplier, the one who was supplying them with the input components, and we would get it for half the price. And then what we would say to that supplier is, just start sending us container loads. So really good example, those plastic fenders that you see go over the wheel wells. Those plastic fenders, OEM in North America, would be about $100. I was buying them for $32 out of England. And people would say, oh, I thought you meant China. I went, no. I was buying them out of England. And what I turned around and did is I went to my biggest US competitors and said, since we're getting along so well, do you want me to sell you fenders? Yeah, sure. How much? Oh, $90. Hey, we're saving $10 a fender. This is awesome. So that was part of our business model for building innovation, controlling our supply chain. And the other thing that we did beyond the whole social media brand exercise, which was so very important for making those connections, is I would end up starting to sell product in Australia. And within weeks, I would get a phone call from the biggest trailer manufacturer in Australia, and they would say, stay out of our country. So I would fly to Australia and meet with them. And I went, you look like you're very interesting people. And they went, yeah, but you're very small and stay out of our country. And I went, perfect. Can you give me a tour? And they'd give me a tour, and all this would start again. And after the tour, I would say, clearly you're running at 60% capacity. Would you like to partner? Would that keep you out of our country? Yeah. So last year alone, I think we were doing $250,000 just in licensing fees for our innovation and for our marketing. That's really what they want. Process, they're good at it. What they weren't good at is the innovation and the marketing that kept them ahead of their competitors. So all that to say, did that for 23 years, and a much larger company came along last Christmas and they said, we love your model, we love your margins. And by the way, we were, typically in an industry where people are happy, like I said, with 5 to 7%, we were at 48 to 52.
It was radical.
Because I knew, not because we were smart, I knew I just couldn't compete against somebody who had already done different things better. I just didn't want to do that. So yeah, they bought my business, and that was a very exciting ride. It's sleeping at airports for 23 years.
Hey, pardon the interruption. It'll just be a beat. We want to tell you about something that's really exciting, and it might be very exciting to you if you're the owner, CEO, leader of a B2B company, roughly with $2 to $20 million in revenue, and you feel a little bit stuck. You know what I mean? Sales are a little flat, maybe even declining, challenged. Margins are being squeezed. Sales cycles seem to be lengthening, and lead flow is uncertain. We've designed a program based on over a dozen years of us doing exactly this for many B2B companies. It's called the Competitive Edge Program, and you can learn more about it at valueprop.com/edge. Tells you all about the program. It's a 90-day program, really focused on helping you sharpen your value proposition, aligning your value delivery, making sure your marketing program is doing what it has to do if you're in B2B, which is generate opportunities, and make sure your sales process is tight so that you can convert those opportunities into sales. So with that note, let's get back to an exciting episode of the Revenue Throughput Podcast. Well, so Darrin, here's a question related to that. So as you said, you weren't particularly smart. I think you were pretty smart at figuring these things out. But were there any companies out there that were inspirations to you that you said, gee, if they can do that, we can do that too? Or was it just the sheer magnitude of the obstacles you had in front of you, knowing you couldn't make a go of it at 5-7%, and you just had to figure it out? I mean, I'm just curious, like, people learn from so many different things, and you actually learn from some of your direct competitors things too.
They were my heroes. So yes, we were in survival mode, but every time I got to meet with one of my competitors, I just laid it all out and said, yeah, I'll tell you everything. And I don't want to compete against you. I want to work with you because I feel safer next to you than you reaching out and squishing me someday. Really good example. One of my biggest competitors was out of, they had an office in Montreal, and they own 2 factories in Missouri. I was able to, in terms of supply chain, we did some internal products to build some machinery for them to help their production, because we were fairly small and agile. We weren't a big company. We were at the 50 to 60 million mark. So compared to them, we're very small and niche. Because we were able to build them some equipment, because we had that level of innovation, they turned around and said, what do you want? And I went, can I pull out of your warehouse and can I have your price for axles? No problem. Anybody understand the multiplier on this?
Wow.
And I did it by helping them. And I was never done in a sneaky, manipulative way. I was always cards on the table. This is exactly what we're doing, but I also want to bring value to the table. And I think they've seen that. And because I always presented myself as small and non-threatening, and they were the big and mighty, and we knew that, everybody understood what the rules were. So once you got past the ego, it was very easy to understand places you could do business together.
You know, what's interesting about that too is I think you had a situation where your competitor, the ones you're talking to, probably were finding it very unusual that you could face off with them that way, that you actually, they probably weren't used to that as normal business. So then this must have been very, very refreshing as far as they were going, thinking about it. So I just think that the way you approached it, like a lot of your secret sauce here, Darrin, wasn't necessarily a technical prowess, although you had a great deal of it because you could focus on innovation, but your whole approach to business development, putting cards on the table, being honest, being, having integrity, talking to people in non-threatening ways. There's so many lessons in that in terms of how to grow the pie, as opposed to, it's an abundance mentality versus a scarcity one. So I'm just curious how people responded to that at a personal level.
Well, you have to get past this. You work pretty hard at saying, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to scam you. I have no interest in doing that. And people talk. We think the world is a big place, but people talk. And if you do it once, you never get to do it again. So that, I think a bit of it is earned over time. But I work very hard at talking always about what the goal was, is to move the business forward. And once we developed that, are you serious? Yes. Once we developed that rapport, we were allowed to be curious. And soon as you can develop a level of trust that you can be curious as a partner, anything's possible. And it's one of the things that I've been a little frustrated with all the, the world kind of half shutting down in the last 2 years, is I miss being curious and going, what's that over there? Oh, we don't want to talk about that. That project was a failure. No, that's a great idea. I want to talk about that. I miss having that level of curiosity when I'm working with other businesses, but never want to hurt, always want to move forward. I have no energy to fight. I don't even have resources to fight. So I don't know why you would ever want to fight with someone else. And I think your customers always want to see you as the doctor. So you should be conducting your business every day with every one of your partners as the doctor. You don't want to be seen as the guy who wins, because that means someone lost. I don't want anyone to lose. I just want to help. And I find the more I'm helping people, the more you uncover the bigger margin things instead of, beating each other up over points, which is a waste of everyone's time. The customers don't want that. They want solutions.
And there's such a lesson in that in terms of entrepreneurial business development, which isn't just in manufacturing. I could see a lot of even smaller service companies and so on. The CPA firm working with the law firm and working with the wealth advisor and so on and so forth. I mean, it goes on. So you really created an ecosystem of goodness that everybody had a role to play. And ultimately you were serving your mutual customers. At the end, the endpoint customer benefited from all this collaboration.
Yeah, well, without those customers, it's just a bunch of guys sitting around talking to each other, and that's not providing solutions. And again, that's how you want to be known in the industry. You want to be trusted. You want to be seen as an advisor. You want to know that people can come to you for a variety of solutions based on their needs, not what you're pushing. And I very, very much enjoyed doing that. Like, good example, I received a phone call a year and a half ago from a Elon Musk Tesla company saying, "You're all about innovations, come and solve our problems." And I went, "Who is this?" So there we are now providing the equipment that they're using to build the tunnels for the electric vehicles. And they've seen us as the people who genuinely want to solve problems. We just happen to have some equipment and we could modify it in a way that we're now digging tunnels all across the United States for electric vehicles. And I'm going, this is pretty cool. And all I had to do was show up and help.
Yeah, but that all you had to do, there's a whole life perspective that led up to that moment, so you could show up that way. And it isn't generally how we think about it, because we often think about dealing competitively in such, martial terms, like win-lose. And there is some of that. I mean, you win the deal, somebody else didn't win the deal, right? That's true. But you created abundance in that. And I think that's very admirable, Darrin. And it leads me to my next question. I know, so now you sold the business, right? And for 23 years on a plane, solving problems, having creative meetings and so on. So what's the next chapter for you? Because it seems like you still have a lot of gas in the tank. So where's that going to get, where's that energy going to go towards?
The day I sold my business, I got a phone call from another one of those manufacturers saying, "We heard a rumor, can you help us?" And I went, "I'm actually kind of, what do you need?" And they went, we think we have production issues." So anyway, times that by 30 other phone calls. What happened is I think I was pretty good at diagnosing problems, but I started referring other experts. And that was incredibly humbling for me to start meeting other experts saying, maybe you have a problem with your sales, maybe you have a problem with your process mapping, maybe you're having maintenance issues within your factory. Can I just send you someone who's better than me? And they would, "Oh yeah, sure, that would be great." And I did that for about 25 companies. And then I looked in the mirror one day and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Manufacturers call me for the manufacturing guy, and then I'm going, let me send you someone who has the skill set and is far better than I am, because doing this for 23 years, I recognize who's better than me. And that has been such a humbling experience for me to go through that, knowing I can help those companies who are wearing many hats. Their leadership is feeling frustrated and alone, because I've been there going, what the hell am I doing? I've done that so many times. Who do I turn to for help that will help me get to the next level, that I can trust that they're actually an expert? Okay. Because I can tell you all the horror stories of people who I brought into my business, and I went, oh my God, you don't know anything about manufacturing, and now I look so stupid in front of my team, but I'm the guy who. So learning that over 23 years, what we've done in the last 6 months is we basically built Netflix for manufacturers, and we call it Manufacturing Masters. And what we've done is we've reached out to industry experts who have real experience in manufacturing, who speak manufacturer, who have very unique skill sets, where manufacturers from all over the world can come and learn from them of what excellence looks like. I didn't go to school for manufacturing. I have a degree in geography. I knew where I was flying. Everything else was just trial by fire. Everything was getting a punch in the face and going, okay, I hope to do this one better next time. So I didn't have someone saying, Darrin, if you're looking at becoming a real sales manager, this is the process you put in place to get the best out of different levels of your sales team. No one ever told me how to do that. No one ever told me what the job of the CFO was. And I went through a lot, and I keep going, I keep promoting my accountant to the CFO position, and now I can't get anything out of them. I'm looking for options, and they keep going, here's the scorecard. I'm going, I don't care about the scorecard, I want options. So we've gone out and found actual experts to give pretty quick 5-minute videos on what excellence looks like. In right now, we have a grand total of 81 experts who have all done or are providing 5-minute videos. So we have over 400 pieces of content that I want the manufacturer on their terms, because we're grunts. we problem solve when we need to problem solve. So I want a resource to be there for the manufacturer to meet them when they need it. So instead of going to a conference 6 months from now, I want them to have the ability to learn and to the ability to ask the right questions and get to meet the people who can help them take their business to the next level. And all of that ties back into what I realize I've been doing for 23 years. How can I create a situation in which everybody wins and gets to move forward? And I'm pretty passionate about that. I'm pretty driven because I know what it's like to lose all my macho-ness and cry in the Walmart parking lot because I owed $2.5 million and didn't know how I was going to pay it back. Who do I talk to about that? Nobody. And even of the people I cared about, they were compassionate, but they're not the people I need right now. So who can I reach out to who's, you know, kind of been there, done that, has some expertise to identify what's there and what's needed to go to the next step? And I want to see if we can get this resource in front of 10,000 manufacturers in the next 2 years. And again, I'm very, very passionate about that. You know, truth be told, Jose, you're one of the people. You, in one of your videos, and I was watching on the treadmill this morning, you gave us the anatomy of a salesperson. No one ever told me that. And I'm struggling going, why is Jeff not a detail guy? Because he keeps missing stuff on the orders. Because you didn't give him the right resources and system, Darrin.
Right.
So you ended up arguing with him on a human level, and that's not something you ever want to do in front of the customer. You need to give the right person with the right skill sets, the right tools to be successful, and then put them in a system so you're not an organization that answers the phone. I want to share that message that you delivered with a lot of people, because a lot of people need to hear that, because they end up suffering if they're just firefighting all day long.
Right. And that is very much the life of the owner, CEO, and many of these, you know, small and mid-market manufacturing concerns. A lot of them are contract manufacturers, or if they're OEMs, they're small OEMs, 10, 15, $20 million. And the reality is they're dealing with just the daily, and they don't think, and sometimes there's even a bit of a, you used the macho-ness as a statement, but there is a sense of like, you know, all that strategy stuff, we just got to get it done, you know, that kind of almost martial language. And no, you know, yes, you got to get it done, but there is value in taking a beat and taking a look at something and say, can we do this better? And you built your business successfully because you asked them some tough questions like, okay, we can't compete with these guys. on their turf, doing it the way they do it, but we can be something else. And instead of them being your biggest competitors looking to crush you, they became partners that help you grow. And that's lovely. And this, what you're doing here with Manufacturing Masters, one of the reasons I did agree to be part of it, I saw the mission as being such a worthy work. Because I do view most of the manufacturers that we help, I think both of us are targeting, Darrin, are people that, you know, it's their livelihood, right? I mean, for you, that was when you were worried about the $2.5 million that you owed, that was personal. That wasn't some corporate abstraction like, well, gee, I might lose this job and then I'll just sign on to the next corporate gig as the VP of whatever, you know, which is people in corporate kind of have that sense that they, you know, they might be out of work for a few months, but they'll land another gig. When it's your business and it's your $2.5 million on the line, that's like real money. And
you get some weird shit going on in your head thinking, I'm going to lose my family. That's how real it gets. And you're going, and you start hearing other voices that are saying everyone hates you. And you're going, whoa, 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 how did I end up here? And sometimes you just need a bit of a lifeline saying, hey, whoa, wait a second, you got options. You always have options. And as soon as you have someone there, you know, just saying, I got you, but you also have options, owners start feeling better and leaders start feeling better about themselves, knowing they have options. And that's, if I could do one thing for manufacturers out there today, I want them to know they have options.
That's great. And, you know, with that many experts and that many topics being covered, I know you're just getting started. I love the vision of the Netflix for manufacturers because it suggests, okay, I have a problem. I may not get everything solved, but I'm going to get direction, which is sometimes the hardest thing, just knowing which way to point. Who should I talk to next? What should I focus on next? And I think this is going to be a big deal. And you're aiming for how many thousand manufacturers to be doing this in 2 years using your
we want 2,000 by next Christmas and 10,000 in the next 2 years. So right now we are currently even filming experts in Australia and India and Europe.
Wow. So
and you know what? We live in a global economy. Why can't I learn from an expert in Griffith, Australia today, who's teaching me how do you design standard work? And Oscar's line back to us is developing standard work sexy? And Oscar, everything that the people on TV tell us to do is AI and predictive and augmented. None of those systems work without a platform of standard work. All of those systems are based on something. So without you teaching us the foundation of best practice, we don't have any healthy systems. Oh, okay. And that's where we want to meet people saying, you know, instead of setting up a $500,000 ERP system, which is great, I was always confused by them. How do I label my bins properly so which I can base my ERP system on? That's where we want to meet the marketplace today, and them going, okay, somebody was talking about step 10. I think we're doing step 2 wrong. Perfect. That's a great spot to be. We don't want you to jump a canyon. We actually want to teach a few people out there how to step down. It's okay to step down. It's the best way to cross that canyon.
Well, I love it. And Darrin, it really addresses the something that we, you know, one of the themes we always, when we work with clients, is the idea of your competitive edge, the idea that sometimes you need to be a little bit better in a few areas and it adds up to a big difference. And kind of like in the Olympics, if you win by a fraction of a second, you still get the gold medal. They don't give you part of the gold medal. They give you the whole thing if you won. And sometimes we think when we read things, and you know, these are good books like Blue Ocean Strategy or Good to Great or something, we think we have to become literal world beaters. And a lot of companies in the size we're talking about aren't going to necessarily redefine their entire industry category, but they can become a healthier, more profitable, more prosperous, and more sane business to run. And I believe Manufacturing Masters will go a long way to helping them with that. So Darrin, if somebody wanted to learn more about you, your work, get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
All over social media under my name. And they can also visit Manufacturing Masters, and it's manufacturing-masters.com. Starting in the very near future, you're going to see a swath of advertising come out about it. But right now, we're just building slowly and making sure we're communicating. In the past week, because we just launched 2 days ago. In the past week, we're communicating hard with all the people who got us to where we are today. We set up a group of 21 manufacturers who not only gave us their insights, but they also let us film at some of their factories. So we want to make sure we gave thanks to people who helped us iterate and create a high quality product as fast as we did. So with that said, you're going to see a lot of advertising starting to come out to make sure that we're reaching those manufacturers that are out there, but we never want to forget the people who helped us create what we did, much like people like yourself, and thank you for that.
No, you're very welcome, and it was certainly my pleasure to participate. So, Darrin Mitchell, thank you so much again for being part of the Revenue Throughput podcast today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jose. You keep up the great work too.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of the Revenue Throughput podcast. If you like this episode and if you like the series, make sure you subscribe below. And also, if you liked it, please do review it. When people are looking for something exciting to listen to, especially the kind of content we're bringing, which is practical insights for B2B companies, this is a place and a free resource that they can take advantage of. Let them know about it with your review. So subscribe, review, enjoy. Thanks again.